You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Kurlop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host, Miss Allie Garcet. What up, Allie?
What's up, Craig? How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I still am unboxing probably one box a week, but hey, it's progress, right?
Hey, compound effect, right? One box a week for 52 weeks. That's 52 boxes in the year.
Yeah, I think that's all that we moved. So by that time, we'll be moving out to their next property, though.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you just keep the boxes on the other end, and then you'll be filling them back on the next time. How is it in that hot Tucson kitchen? I mean, not only are you in the kitchen and it's hot, but you're also in Tucson, which is like one of the hottest places in the U.S. So it's like doubly hot.
Yeah, it's very hot. And what is maybe embarrassing, but I'm not too embarrassed about, is I don't leave the house. So I don't even experience the heat. But yeah, this week it's I think an average of 106. We're getting up to 108, but every day it's over 103. Um that's Tucson for you. But hey, I'm indoors and the AC works. So thank you, America.
Allie is an indoor cat. Got it.
I'm an indoor cat for sure.
Yeah, one big update we'll share with us is we just closed on the land below us. We were able to secure it with seller financing, so the real estate investing skills kind of came into place. We've been in negotiations with the sellers for like over a year, and finally we came to terms. And so basically what happened was it was listed at 465. We got them down to 390, and we put down $20,000 down, and they're seller financing the rest over 5 years at like a 6.75% interest rate. Interest rate's not great, but our monthly payment's kind of where we want it to be. And we only bought it for $20,000 down. So it's really hard to buy land otherwise without building on it. We didn't really want to build on it. So yeah, we made it happen. So we just closed on that this week, and we're really excited for it.
That's amazing. Congrats. Yeah,
Yeah.
saw Grace's post and how you guys have been back and forth trying to, get something under wrap, and you got it done. Heck yeah. It's all about the
Yeah.
terms. I love it.
All about the terms. That's what it's all about. So yeah, real excited on that one. Obviously, it's like an investment, but really not for like passive income. I just see the area that we're in and all of the building that's happening, and ultimately, like our property is still 5 minutes from town, but we're gonna have, we basically have 10 acres now, and so if anybody ever wants like a homestead that's close to town, I think that's gonna like this is the cheapest this property is ever going to be, and so that's why I wanted to move on it, because in a year from now, it's probably going to be worth 10 or 15% more. And then if somebody else buys it and builds on it, one, that's going to really hurt our happiness levels for the next however long we're going to be here, and then probably double or triple the price of that property. So we're just like, we just need to buy this thing. So even if it wasn't like the most amazing deal today, it's probably worth like 370. I don't know what it's honestly worth, but that's kind of the whole deal with it. So
Congrats. Happy for you.
that's it. So that's the big news here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And so, speaking of land and knowing financial stuff, we've got our guest, Miss Jasmine Paul, today, who has radiating skin, radiating personality. And if you're not in a good mood by the time you're done listening to this episode all the way through, then you may be unshakable, because her energy, her vibes are just like through the roof. So, Jasmine Paul, welcome to the show. This episode of Investify was brought to you by the FI team, a team of investor-friendly agents that service all 50 states. If you are looking to house hack, to invest, grow your portfolio, and want a true investor-friendly agent on your side, go to thefiteam.com and click Get Started, and we can't wait to have a good conversation with you. Jasmine Paul, welcome to the show, my friend. Or should I say Allie's bestie? How are you doing today, Jasmine?
I'm great. Thanks so much for inviting me on the show. I'm excited to talk with y'all.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. And I can tell already by your use of y'all that you're probably from somewhere in the South. Is that right?
No, not at all.
Literally 30
I
seconds in. Yeah,
think
she's a.
I think I've been like influenced by the South, but I represent the Northeast, specifically the 302.
All right. Oh, 302. Where's that?
Yes, that's Delaware.
Delaware. Okay. All right.
Yes,
I'm a mass. We got three East Coasters here. We got Massachusetts,
yes.
New York, and Delaware.
I know. The best
All
coast.
right. Well, funny enough, no one here is on the East Coast anymore, so that says something. But Jasmine, tell us a little bit about your story and where you first heard about financial independence.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I think we'll take it back to when I met Allie when we were in college. I was first introduced to financial independence when I was a junior in college. There was a guy who was a party promoter, and I used to go to all the parties because I owned my own company. It was a photography and videography business, and so I would take photos and videos of the events. And I remember going to his house to do some pre-planning. And this guy was like a senior in college who owned the house like right across the street from the college that we did ROTC at. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, he was renting out the bedrooms to his fraternity brothers. And I was like, I can do this. Like, once I get some money, I can do this too. And so that was in 2011. 2012, I ended up sleeping in my car my senior year because I could not manage my money very well. So I had this dream of like, one day I'm gonna own a house, and then I was like sleeping in my car for about 2 months and living on my friends' couches. Um, and so, but I always like kept this dream of like, okay, I can get to this house hacking thing. This was like before house hacking was a thing. I think there was like one blog out there. It was called Renting Out the Rooms. And I reached out to this blogger and I was like, hey, Mike, can you help me with just renting out the rooms? And he kind of gave me this template of using a lease and vetting people with a credit check and a background check. And so I went on Craigslist and rented out the rooms. And I feel like the rest is kind of history.
Wait, so someone started renting out rooms before me? What? This guy, Mike, we need to find him.
I know, right?
Also, I had no idea you were sleeping in your car. Oh my gosh, now I feel like the worst bestie. Wow. So while you were at High Point, because you went to High Point, I went to Elon, but we went to the same ROTC school, which was A&T. That's insane. That's crazy. And look at where you're at now. And you've always been like such a hustler with like 100 different businesses, which I'd like to get into as well.
Real quick on the car thing. Were you sleeping in your car because you had to, or sleeping in your car because like that was like, you were trying to save as much as you could, and you had your photography business and your videography business, and you're just trying to like stack cash?
No, none of the above. It was because I had lived the summer previous, I had lived in a townhouse that I found on Craigslist. Um, I was paying like $600 a month. I had a roommate, and it was like a 40-year-old woman who was from Taiwan, and she was amazing. She was like the best roommate I've ever had. And so I was in this townhouse, but then I didn't renew the lease because I was going to do an internship in Philadelphia at the time. And I should have just renewed the lease and paid the money over the summer. And so once I got back to school the following that fall, I was supposed to room with my sorority sister. We could not come to an agreement with the type of place we wanted. And so I was out of that. So she got her own place. I was still looking. I ended up getting another apartment and didn't realize that the rent was not all inclusive. So I had $600 for rent and that was everything included. And then now it was like $750 for rent and then like $100 for electricity. I didn't understand how that was set up. And so I had to break my lease because I couldn't afford it. And then that's when I ended up living in my car, and then I was on my friends' couches. And it wasn't until one of my really good friends in college was like, hey, you're sleeping on the floor in the house. Like, why not just rent out the room. And there was another lady who was renting out the rooms to young college women. And so I think I paid like $250 for the remainder of my senior year.
Super cool. So you're kind of like house hacking right there. Allie, if you guys were besties, was she like sleeping on your couch and didn't even know it?
Right. Well, that couch would have been like 40 minutes away. I would have loaned you my bed.
I'm sure Allie would have definitely opened it. I was very quiet about this. I didn't share. Like, no one really knew what was going on except for like a few close friends. And I think in that situation, I should have relied on help and asking for support. I could have asked my parents for help. I didn't. And so, yeah, it was just the time that I was like, okay, I got myself in this mess. I got to figure it out.
So how'd you get yourself out?
Yeah, it was the friend who offered the $250 rent. Yeah. And so that was amazing.
So you start like renting the room out. You have 250 as far as rent goes. You enter active duty in 2012 and along with me. And then at that point, with the money making skills or like how did your money habits change throughout the journey up until like as you started working toward financial independence?
Absolutely. So I was a part of the house hack. I wasn't actually house hacking then. I was just getting, cheap rent. So once I transitioned off into active duty that summer before I went to my tech training, I ended up reading a ton of financial literacy books. So I went to the library, and that summer I was at home. I was just like reading books. I'm trying to remember the people. I don't even recall who those names were, but like I was reading any and everything that had financial literacy. And so I found in my studies was one, making sure your expenses were very low. So keeping your expenses super low, making sure you had emergency savings about 6 to 9 months, or I guess then it was 3 to 6 months, but I preach 6 to 9 months of savings. And then learning about investing, learning about the stock market. And then the biggest thing was real estate. And so I had this Real Estate for Dummies book that I got. I think it was like the only real estate book that I could find at the time. And I just started reading it and learning more about like how do you structure the deal, like how do you find your realtor. And so between 2012 when I was at tech training to 2013, once I got to my first duty station in Montana, I was interviewing realtors and then looking on the MLS for my first property. I ended up getting a realtor, and we looked for about 8 months. Because I was really interested in renting out the rooms, and so I wanted to make sure that it was in an environment that, good school district, that it was still the ugly house on the block. It was pretty affordable for me. I was not making much at the time. And so I wanted to make sure that even if I didn't have roommates, I could still afford it. And I remember working with him for about 8 months, and he was just it wasn't working. I ended up going into a contract because I felt like, man, my time is running out. Like I really wanted to get into my first place before the end of the year. I ended up backing out of the deal because it was just like, it needed about $20,000 worth of work, and I did not have that saved. And I really wanted something that was more turnkey. And so ended up kind of parting ways with him, taking a breather, feeling really discouraged in that process. Because I remember at the time I was talking to people who were my employees, and I was telling them about this journey of finding my first property, and they were just not supportive at the time. They're like, why would you ever want to buy here? Why, you're so young, like you're not married yet, you don't have a family. Why would you ever do that? And so I remember being so discouraged, and I took about 2 weeks to 3 weeks to kind of just settle and really like refocus. And I was like, okay, I need to find the best realtor that this town can offer, who is going to like go hard for me. I remember looking at like the top realtors in the state, and then like who actually had awards and reviews. And like I remember meeting my realtor, and she was like interviewing me. And I was like, oh, this is nice. She was like interviewing me. She gave me like an application of kind of like what my interests were, what was I interested in. And she said something to me that I have taken to heart for every property. She was like, I want you to look at the property 3 times before we even go in the door. I want you to do a morning run, an afternoon run, and a late night run. If it's not a place that you feel comfortable in, we're not even going to go see it. And so for me, because I was looking for my primary residence at the time, that was important to me. And it was also important for like future tenants if I was going to rent it out, and future, roommates. And so we connected like the third week into kind of my rest process. And I would say 2 weeks later, we found the house. I went to the house like 3 times, not even during the times. I was just like, I love this house. It's so nice. It had everything I wanted. It was in the price range. And yeah, I put the offer in. The seller was amazing. It was only it was the owner who she had built the home. And I ended up closing December 12th of 2013. So that was like, yeah, within the year of when I wanted to get it. Yes.
Amazing. Allie, you know what this sounds like?
Sounds like the
For real.
For real
real deal.
Bum. All right, Jasmine, this is the first deal that you ever did. And so we want to know about it. Obviously, we know how you found it. It sounds like you found it on the MLS after finding your rockstar agent. And if you don't know how to find a rockstar agent today, you can come hit me up at theflyteam.com. You can hit Allie up if you're in Arizona at Allie, do you have a website?
I do actually, yeah. Garced Realty. It's my last name, which I don't ever really say. It's GARCED, garcedrealty.com.
There you go. Hit up either one of us and we'll help you find an investor-friendly agent wherever you are. And so, Jasmine, tell us a little bit about the deal. You got off the MLS from your real estate agent, which is great. What stood out to you about this deal in terms of like why you liked it, why you thought it was a good investment? Never mind like the home piece, but we want to see why it was a good investment, how much you put down, what you're getting for rent, the mortgage, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So it was, again, I was really pressed about the school district. I really wanted to be in one of the top school districts because I knew that it was a bigger house. It was about 2,200 square feet and it had split levels. So it had like each level had its own bathroom, and I knew that would be important for roommates so we could have our spaces. And it also had a loft on the garage. I believe my purchase price was $162, and zero money down due to the VA loan. I think I ended up coming out of closing with like $2,000. And I think I put $500 in escrow because that's all I could afford.
So you actually gained money back at closing.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Because like, didn't you have to actually like, don't you have to put down at least some down payment?
No.
Oh, because you used the VA loan. Is that right?
Yeah. So with the VA loan, I put zero down. I put the $500 in escrow, and that was it. When it came to the inspection, they fixed everything. Like I think they put in a new furnace. There was some type of mitigation thing that they put in themselves. They gave me a home warranty. So for the first year, I had a home warranty, which was actually helpful because I did not know that there was a pilot light that you needed to turn on for hot water. So for about 3 days in December in Montana, I had no hot water, and it was due to the pilot light not being lit. And so thankfully I called the warranty, and the furnace guy came and laughed at me, and he didn't charge me. Thankfully, I was 23 at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. So
Was your water heater from like the 50s? I didn't think pilot lights were still like a thing.
it was old. I mean, the house was like, I think built in 62, 63. So yeah, it was an older house. It didn't have AC.
Oh, wow. Oh, I guess it's Montana.
It's Montana. It doesn't get super hot.
So, all right. So you bought this thing for $162. You bought it with no money down, basically, because of the VA loan. Do you remember what your monthly payment was on that?
Oh my gosh. I think it was no more than $908.
Okay, no more than $908.
Yeah, it was like including, and I say $908 because I remember my apartment was $1,052. It was weird. And I was like, I have to get below that. I have to get below that. And so, it was like $908, and that was including homeowners insurance. There was no PMI, and then also the property taxes and the mortgage.
So your full monthly obligation was, let's just say, $900, and then you ended up renting out the rooms. Is that right? So how many bedrooms was it, and how much were you getting per room?
Yeah, it was 4 bedrooms. It was 3 bedrooms officially, and then one kind of like unofficial bedroom, but I didn't use that as that was like a storage room. And I rented out the bedrooms for $700 a month.
Okay, so you were making basically $1,400 a month, while the mortgage payment was $900 a month, which is a legitimate like house hack. You're living for free, and of course, when you move out, you can rent out your room for another $700, and you're making $2,100 a month on a $900 payment. Now, obviously, like these times are different. This is 2013. You're not going to buy that house for $162,000 today. But what you have to realize is that, right now we're recording this in 2023, and in 2013 you could get that. But what's going to happen in 2033 when looking back at 2023, right? And so you can't compare what Jasmine got 10 years ago, but you can compare what you'll look like in 10 years. And so this amazing deal that sounds great today probably wasn't that great of a deal back then, right? And it's the same concept. And so I think that's really important. It's just so important to buy and look at. I'm sure we're gonna get into more as to like how that property performed. So how long did you hold on to that thing for? How long were you living there?
I was living there for 3 years, and then I held on to it until 2018. And I'm so sad. But again, it was life. I had a lot of transitions, like Allie knows, of just like moving and bouncing around. I had to fire property managers. At the time it was giving me a lot of headache, and I just had to part ways with it. But I do like look back like, oh, what a great property that was. And then I actually visited when I went to Montana. I had to go to Montana for something, and I visited the property and I met the owners now. And I was like, you did such a great job. It's so beautiful. And they were like, you owned it? And I was like, I did. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's amazing. So like when you moved out, you lived there for 3 years. So when you moved out, did you rent out your room, and did you keep it rent by the room, or did you transition it to a long-term rental?
I transitioned to a long-term rental.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounded like about 3 years after you bought it. And what were you getting for rent as a long-term?
Long-term, I believe it was about $1,300 a month.
Okay. So you took a little bit of a haircut on your profit in order to relieve you of that stress. I think that's what a lot of people do, is you start off getting the best bang for your buck on each property. Then over time, you transition it to the long-term. And I think that's a great plan. And so what'd you end up selling it for in 2018?
Oh gosh, what did I sell it for? I think we came in at 210. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's still like a 30-40% gain. You missed the big run, obviously. You sold it before the big run, but you weren't, no one had a crystal ball in 2018.
And I always look at it like, for me, I did not know what I know now. Like back then, I was still at the time like 28. I didn't really understand like real estate like I do now. And so my uncle kicks me about it. He was like, oh, you should have held on to the property. And I was like, well, nobody was coming at me with like advice. I was reaching out to people at the time. Like I was struggling with finding a realtor. I feel like there was so many things that I didn't understand. And so I think for me, I always share like, you only make the best decisions with the information that you had, at the moment. And then you move on. And so I definitely learned my lesson, but, and I'm grateful. Like it was a great season. I paid off my student loans with that property. I became debt free with that property and was able to really like maximize my, investments. And so,
yeah, I mean, you put $0 down, you made 50 grand in 5 years, not including the cash flow that you were getting. Like it sounds like a pretty good deal for someone that didn't really know what they were doing. So that's awesome. And so like, can you talk to us a little bit about the intricacies of an Airbnb in a townhome, and what that might in your own townhome at that? Because I know townhomes can be kind of weird sometimes.
Yeah. So, it was pretty cool. I again took pictures. I had professional pictures done. I ended up, because I still have my stuff there, I ended up locking different places. And I saw this model when I was in Montana. I remember going to the airport, to Bozeman Airport, flying out, and there was a family who was renting out their gigantic house, and they had like an same entrance as where the family was. I ended up having dinner with the family, but I kind of had like my own section, my own bathroom. And so I was like, oh, like people are renting out rooms while they're still living there. And so I was like, let me do that too. So I changed the locks on the doors. I ended up just opening up the 2 guest bedrooms. They had their own bathroom. They had access to the kitchen. I ended up taking out the plates and having their own plates. So I put everything in my garage in storage. I changed the locks on the garage door, and they didn't have access to it. And I did a key code deadbolt on the front door. And because the property was located near the beach, a lot of people were looking for affordable beach opportunities. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was, I think in a weekend, in about 2 weekends, I made my mortgage, which was like awesome. So I was like, oh, let me just do that. So my mom lived near. And so my mom was willing to help. God bless her. She was like my help, like cleaning team, because we couldn't find like a legit cleaning team that was actually going to do what we needed to do on our checklist. And so, my family is a bunch of entrepreneurs, and they've owned their own business for decades. And so we were the cleaning team to turn over the house.
So, and then within the townhome itself, were you looking at other like townhomes within that community that were doing the same thing? Or did the townhome ever be like, did they allow it? Short-term rental?
They were, I'm really grateful. Like, I'm surprised that no one said anything. No one said anything to me. It wasn't like I looked at, the HOA rules. No one, it was cool. Like my neighbor, I knew my neighbor, he was really cool, and he knew, but no one said anything.
Yeah, and I feel like at that time too, in 2016, things were like a little bit more lax with Airbnb. That's like I think before a lot of regulation came out and like slapping wrists and whatnot. And I do want to touch on the VA loan. Like the VA loan is for owner occupied. However, there are always certain extenuating like circumstances in which you are able to either, not owner occupy it. You have to like have it approved by a lender. So I don't want to like be condoning any sort of mortgage fraud. Like in my case, for example, I bought my first VA loan and I deployed the month after. So obviously I'm gonna rent it out. So just so everyone is clear, it's not like we're like, oh yeah, mortgage fraud.
Right. And I was deployed. So during the time I was deployed as well. So there were times where I had to live with my mom because of the dates. But for that most of that period, I was in Afghanistan.
Okay. Well, thank you, of course, both of you for your service. And so this 3-bed, 2-bath, you're living in your mom's house. Airbnb is kind of like the wild, wild west at that point. Also, like I was doing Airbnb around that time too. And man, my Airbnb wouldn't not a single booking today with how poorly I put it together. Maybe you're better than me. But like for me, it was like not a picture on the wall. The bed was like undone. Like it was just horrible. But it got booking. And so did you have a plan B when you were investing in this one? Like if Airbnb didn't work, was it going to work a different way?
Yeah, I purchased it as a primary rental. Or primary house. So I wasn't really looking at like, will this do well in the future as far as the short-term rentals? I knew for long-term that it was in a really great area, close enough to the beach, close enough to the nearest city. And so I thought it was going to be great regardless. It was a great home for me. And then it just so happened, I guess I became an accidental landlord in that case.
I see.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So do you still have that property today?
I do. And it's a long-term rental.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sweet. So let's talk about the numbers there. What does it rent for now?
I think it rents for about $2,000.
And the mortgage payment is still under $1,000.
It is, yes.
Awesome. And I take it you've got a property manager on that as well.
I do. Yeah. I really try to so my first year, I tried to do it myself. and I was living in Korea at the time, and it was cool. I found my tenants, and I screened them. They had their inspection. We did a lease, but I noticed that is not a strength of mine to be a property manager, especially in a different country. And so, yeah, I ended up hiring a property manager, and he's pretty good. I like him so far.
Hey, good property managers are tough to come by. So definitely when you have them, hold them tight. So you sold this first property. I guess at this time you kind of still have two of them, but then you eventually sell in 2018 the first one. And so what happens kind of like after that? Like where are you at today? How have you scaled? How have you grown? Or you just are I think there is something to be said too about just having a few rental properties and like eventually paying them off and living that like not so flashy financial independent lifestyle, which I truly do appreciate.
Yeah. For me, so in 2018, I was really contemplating on really growing a business. So I have had several businesses in the past, with my first business starting at 9, my video photography business at 19 in college. And so I really wanted to talk about financial literacy. I feel like a lot of people were coming to me about financial education. Hey, how do I grow my money? How do I pay off this debt? And I was like, okay, I feel like so many people are coming to me. My friend was like, you really should start a business. And I was like, okay, I'll try. Like, we'll see how this goes. And so I've really focused on my business and kind of building out like different revenue streams through my speaking engagements, as well as my children's book series, my curriculum development, as well as workshop facilitation.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So I know that you have written several books. Why children's books? Because as far as I know I'm a bad bestie now. I was already called out on this podcast, but I don't think you have kids, Jazz. So why children's books?
No kids, no children. Yeah, so in 2019 through 2020, I was focusing on young women who are about ages 25 to 40 who really lost hope when it came to money. They had tried, different courses and different workshops, and nothing was sticking. And so those were my target audience at first. And then when the pandemic hit, I was having conversations with my parents and my family members about high yield savings accounts and 401ks, and like different conversations that we never had previous to that, or we were having them a lot more often. And my sister was asking questions, and she was in high school at the time. And I was like, man, who is teaching these kids? So I did some market research. I found that there weren't a lot of children's books about money. There are now, which is incredible. But I was like, okay, how do we take this very complex topic at times, which is financial literacy, and how do we break it down to a simplified version so kids could understand? And that's kind of where it started. I remember my godson, I was buying children's books for him, and I was like, man, I really wish he had children's books that talked about financial education, talked about budgeting, talked about goal setting, talked about investing, but at a very simplified topic, just in a very simplified way that he would be able to understand it. And so that's where the Wealth Playground series was born.
The Wealth Playground series, I love that. And so you originally started at ages 25 to 40, but it sounds like you may have scaled that back a little bit. And so like, what would you say your demographic is now, and who are you really trying to target?
Yes. So ages 5 to 18, that's where like just my sweet spot. I love 5 to 9. Those are kiddos that they're excited and they don't have habits formed. So kids can learn about money as early as the age of 5, and their money habits are set by the age of 13. And so by the time they get to high school, which is where you see a lot of financial education classes, they've already have their money mindset really developed. And so I love kind of getting in when they are still curious about the world and they still want to learn, and they're sponges and they absorb. But of course, I go all the way up to 18. And then I also target millennial parents, boomers, as well as Gen Xers who are excited about financial literacy and really want to provide resources and tools to their youth.
That's so amazing. And so would you say that is kind of like your main thing now, or are you still investing in real estate too on the side? You've got
Yeah, so I'm still interested in real estate. I'm interested more in commercial real estate. I've been having a few conversations on how to potentially get into commercial real estate because I love business. I love building out ecosystems. I think it's so important to our economy. And then I'm noticing there's kind of a gap in commercial spaces. So I would love to see if there's any opportunities there. But yes, my business is definitely my number one focus. I love it, and it's fun.
We hope this episode is inspiring you to take action. If you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent or an agent who wants to join an investor-friendly team, just hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, because we are growing our team in Denver, Seattle, San Diego, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but also adding to our network in all 50 states. And if you didn't already know this, the Fi team provides a super supportive environment with one-on-one coaching, accountability, and ongoing training to help develop kick-ass, rock star, investor-friendly real estate agents. So hit me up on Instagram at the Fi Guy, shoot me a DM, and we'll set up a time to chat. Can't wait to chat with you. Amazing. So when you say commercial, do you mean like multifamily, or do you mean office space, or?
Office space, co-working spaces, content studio spaces. I've seen like a few really cool things here in Texas that I'm really intrigued about. So yeah, stay tuned.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about I want to talk a little bit about like your business now, like the education business that you created. Clearly, like, you've used real estate as a tool to build up your own wealth so you can then go pursue your passions and your dreams, which is to educate the younger generations. And so, like, what is from like a money, I guess, like from a money making perspective, like what are some lessons you've learned in growing that business, and what are some things you think you've done well?
Oh gosh, there's so many lessons learned. I feel like right now, and I think it's starting to die down, but I feel like there's this idea that entrepreneurship is just so sexy and it's so like beautiful and it's amazing to work for yourself and you have your own schedule and you get to dictate everything. But it comes with this responsibility, right? Like, even though I work for myself, I still answer to clients, I still answer to vendors, I still have to make sure that I manage relationships, which I think was a lot easier with a 9 to 5. Now you're coming with, while I do have my experience from the military, I do have my experience in business. People are like, who are you? What do you have behind your name that I'm going to, why would I care about this? And so I would say lessons learned, just managing relationships for sure, keeping people close to you. I think we neglect, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we neglect the people that are closest to us. Like, I've had so many amazing opportunities from people who were like in my sphere of influence, like in my immediate circle. And so definitely like reach out to the people around you. When it comes to money, I try to keep my expenses as low as possible. But I also try not to be cheap. And I've learned that the hard way, trying to go the cheap route versus actually investing in the proper tools that will grow your business.
One thing, I've got a lot of friends that are in kind of like the child education space, and almost all of them are struggling with the basically getting paid on their time, right? Because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, but at the end of the day, 5 to 18-year-olds don't have any money, right? And so they're not able to purchase anything. And if you do put something out, it's got to be insanely cheap. And so, have you struggled with that at all? Where it's like, man, is my time worth this? Like, you're doing some great soul work and you're doing some of God's work, and that's really important. But of course, you also have to keep the food on your table for you and your family.
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, there are moments where it is a lot of work, but again, I think this is part of my purpose. Like, I really love helping people just rip the band-aid off on like the truth of their finances. I love when kids are like, oh my God, I can open up an IRA at 18. What? Like, my parents can help me build my credit score. Like, I love that because I was the kid who was living in her car because she didn't know about financial education and literacy. And while my parents, they tried their hardest and they did, I don't think a lot of it really seeped in at the time. And so I will say there are benefits to having kind of multiple streams of income. So I have, speaking engagements as well as workshops, as well as books that kind of they are distributed through other channels where I am able to live, I wouldn't say comfortably, but I'm able to make my bills and make my expenses. So, and definitely having real estate and then having dividends from my investments, like those are all things that really help with my day-to-day life.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you've got your real estate portfolio, maybe you've got some stock or index funds invested, you've got your business. So all of that together is accumulating, right? And it's great because if real estate goes down, you've got these other streams. You're diversified nicely. Awesome. And so like today, are you like you mentioned that you're now in San Antonio, Texas. Are you still house hacking there, or are you where are you at now?
I house hack, but not consistently. I did have a roommate for about 3 months, which was really awesome. And so I'm definitely interested in it. I find that people are not interested in like living at your place. It's weird. Like, I don't know if other cities are experiencing this, but I'm like, this is such a great deal. Like, why would you not do this? I'm finding that people are really interested in getting their own spot. But if you have a good roommate, I am willing and able. They're welcome here.
Amazing. No, I love that. And so when you bought, so it sounds like you at least bought your place in San Antonio. Did you go ahead and use that VA loan again because you sold the first one, so that then relinquish the entitlement to the second one?
I did.
Amazing. Look at that. 3 VA loans, 0 money down each time. Man, if you're in the military or you're like young, thinking about joining the military, you just need to be in the military, for 3 years to start getting those benefits, right? Is it part of the GI Bill or no?
No. So you can be a spouse, right? Like there's other ways. You don't gotta serve. You gotta find someone who's in the military that can help out.
What about if you're a co-host of a military person on the podcast? Does that count?
I don't think that counts.
No, it doesn't count. Rats.
So you actually don't even have to serve for 3 years. I'm pretty sure you have to serve for 90 days or something like that. Because circumstances change, like something could happen, you could be medically something. But 90 days, there are some other requirements as well. But yeah, as far as like a spouse goes, if you are a widowed of a military member that is not yet remarried, you have access to the VA loan. Yeah, it's what catapulted like mine and Jazz's net worth. It's great.
Amazing. It's amazing. Awesome, Jasmine. Well, we're heading into here the final part of the show. Before we do you have any parting words of wisdom for the listeners?
I think it's important I think sometimes we can get overwhelmed with so much information. And like we wish that we were somewhere, we wish we were at that level, we wish we had bought that property when we thought, when we were doing a deal analysis. And I would say just keep doing, right? Like it's not this like traumatic, like amazing thing that happens overnight. It's like the consistent daily habits every single day. And then also having grace for yourself that those consistent daily habits might change, right? You might have a bad day and that's okay. And so I don't know, when I look back when I was 23, I did not know what I was doing. I had no idea. But I do recall people saying like, it's going to pay off in 10 years. It's going to pay off in 20 years. It's going to pay off. And so, yeah, just be okay with where you are. Start today. And also have grace for yourself. There's so much happening in this world. Please have grace for yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're not here to enjoy the fruits of your labor, like, well, it's great for your, the legacy and the people behind you, but enjoy today. I think too often we don't enjoy what's in front of us and what we actually have. Like for the most part, we're truly blessed. While there's some room for change and maybe we can grow, I do believe that we were put on this earth for a reason. We have a purpose and we need to ensure that we fulfill that purpose by any means necessary.
I love that. Love that, Jasmine. Awesome. All right. Ellie, are you ready for the
I know.
the
final four?
All right, Ellie, kick us off.
Okay. Question number one, Jazz. What are you reading right now?
I am reading The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. It's a book about how do we make meaningful events when we gather in spaces? How do we ensure that when people come to an event or come to whatever it is, a party, how do they leave with something that's meaningful? So, The Art of Gathering.
Nice.
That's a good one. I haven't heard of that before. That's awesome. Jasmine, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My mom shared this with me when I was looking for colleges, submitting applications for colleges, and she mentioned that your gifts will make room for you. And she never wanted me to beg anyone for anything. She always said that you are talented, you are gifted, and your gifts are going to make room for you. You won't have to beg for anything. And so I've really used that motto in every aspect of my life.
Love that.
Question three. We've touched on question three here a bit with like your purpose. But if you want to go give a different answer or just dig deeper into it, what is your true why? Why are you doing all of this?
I really, I of course, I really love financial literacy, but I think even more than that, I love showing up as my authentic self and showing up loud and bold. And I just want that for everyone else. I want everyone else to be confident in who they are, to show up unapologetically. And I feel like that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to like say, you know what, girl, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You had a bad hair day. We good, we all right. Um, I feel like people could like, if they walked in that every day, it would change the whole world. It would change like not worried about your insecurities and all that stuff. Like it would change everything. So yeah, I show up as my like as Jasmine, and I just want everyone else to do the same. Not as Jasmine, as themselves.
Yeah, and adding to that, man, like your personality is so radiating and contagious in a great way. Like I remember like there would be days when you wouldn't be at ROTC and I'd be like, damn it, Jazz isn't here. And like literally the room level just like sinks, like there are some people that just like make a room and you are definitely one of them. So and like you share that with others. So it makes perfect sense that you're reading The Art of Gathering.
I appreciate that, Allie. And I'm glad I didn't like fail out of ROTC for being absent. Because there's a few absences.
Especially if you're noticed that much too, because I'm sure the teachers or the whatever you call them in ROTC. Clearly, I'm not an ROTC person. They notice too, even more so. Okay, Jasmine, here is the last question. It's going to be a two-part question. Have you ever pranked called someone you didn't know? And if so, what was your favorite prank call?
I have. I'm sure I have. I mean, that was like when the white pages, the yellow pages were a thing. The phone book was a thing. Oh, I know. I don't even recall. I do know it wasn't prank called, but I grew up with my cousins in New York and they lived in the Bronx and we would do like prank ding dong ditch a little bit. So like, but we would ring the bell, but if we didn't jet out soon enough, we would like stay and just be like, "Hey, we're a group of kids and we're trying to go to summer camp. Would you like to support us?" We did not have any summer camp. There was nothing. And like everybody would be looking at us like we were crazy. Like they would not do anything. But like we would try to like avoid like getting in trouble because we didn't run fast enough to leave. So
What happens if one of your friends was like halfway down the hall and you were like just still standing there? Where'd the other kid go?
no, my cousins always left. They always left me. Like
Oh, yeah, they always left. Yeah, so you were always the one that was stuck. Yeah.
Is that why you joined track to be able to run faster?
it's crazy. I was doing track in college and I had never done track before. I was a volleyball player, but I got cut from the team. So I joined track because I don't even why did I join track? It was great. They offered a scholarship. It was cool. But I was not.
They offered you a text. They offered you a scholarship because they knew about your ding dong ditch skills. She's never run track before, but you should see her run down the third floor of the building in the Bronx there.
I was fast enough. I wasn't, but it was like a very small scholarship. It was nothing to be, yeah. I had my ROTC scholarship. So
Awesome. All right, Jasmine, where can people find out more about you if they want to, absorb some of your content, or if maybe they've got kids that are in your age range that they may want to, get them on board with financial education?
yes, absolutely. So you can head over to thewealthplayground.com and you can check out free resources. You can hop on my newsletter. I send out money, tools, and tips and tricks every Monday and Friday. So definitely check me out there, or you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Jasmine like Paul.
Awesome. Jasmine, thanks so much for coming on. Definitely go check out the Wealth Playground. And yeah, Jasmine, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. And Allie is right that you just like radiate good energy and just love to hear. I don't know, just love having you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
One last thing is that I'm realizing is that you guys have like the most perfect skin, and I'm sitting here like, don't even look at me. What is it? What is your skin? What are your skin routines like? I need to get on this.
No, not at all. I don't know. Maybe it's because we left active duty. I don't know.
Left active duty. Yeah, maybe you have to be on active duty, and then when you leave, your skin just like zing.
I don't know. Minding my business has helped, and water. Minding my business and water, and then you gotta lotion, you gotta moisturize.
Yeah, moisturize. Okay, good tips there.
I use the cheap stuff too. I use like the dollar thing from Target, the Pond's, the pink one, and then I wash my face with Cetaphil. Cetaphil? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Same. I use CeraVe. CeraVe. It's like Cetaphil, but it's the different brand. But cheap. Yeah, I don't.
It sounds like a different language to me.
But it works.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, Jasmine, thank you again so much for coming on. You and your great skin can, we'll be in touch very soon.
Thanks for coming on, Jazz.
Thanks so much for having me, y'all. This was great. Thank you so much for what you guys do. And I truly hope that, I hope people continue to listen in and they get the gems that you all drop. And so thank you. Thank you so much for what you all do.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. We'll talk soon. And that was Jasmine Paul. Allie, what did you think of Jasmine?
Wow. Well, I can't believe that having known Jazz, I had no idea that while we were going to ROTC together, she was sleeping in her car. And that just goes to the extent of like not knowing what other people are going through when you see them daily or, multiple times a week. So going from sleeping in her car to now teaching about learning about literacy, now teaching it so that way others don't have to sleep in their car, that being her purpose and her passion, I am excited to see where she continues her businesses.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really cool and really powerful how she used real estate. Like, her goal is not to become the next billionaire. You can tell that, right? She's using real estate as a platform to basically fund what her dreams are and what she feels her purpose is, and that's to help the younger generations learn about financial independence. And I'll tell you what, like, it's rewarding from like a fulfillment perspective, and I think it will be continuously rewarding as these kids grow up and have financial literacy and start investing in real estate. And Jasmine was a big part of that. She's going to be even more fulfilled than she is today. But from like a monetary perspective, I can guarantee you she's not doing this for the money, because it is a really hard space to monetize. And so I just think that's just amazing that she's able to do that. And it's kind of against the grain from what a lot of people in our space are doing. And it's almost just like a breath of fresh air. So I just absolutely love that.
Yeah, she's a great person. I mean, she's doing this from the bottom of her heart and using real estate to be able to fund her passions, which is what a lot of people um, can also think about doing. You don't have to love real estate, but if you can use real estate to do what you love doing, then that's perfect. That's life.
Absolutely. So if you like this episode, please share it with your friends. Leave us a review wherever you can leave reviews, on iTunes, on wherever else there is to leave reviews. And hit us up on Instagram. We love to hear that you guys are listening and following along. And both of us get back to our messages fairly quickly. So, Allie, what's your Instagram?
Ali the Agent, ALI.
And I am the Fi Guy. And so Allie the Agent and the Fi Guy are signing off. See you next week.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.